Most relationships start with passion and shared dreams and shared goals and fun and joy, and they end with pain. Why? Why does this happen to so many couples? Is it perhaps that they have been trained and programmed to believe that relationships need to look a certain way? And then the reality is very different to that. So let's look at this from a spiritual perspective, the old paradigm and the new world. With the old paradigm, it was all about your partner completing you. It was all about your partner meeting some unmet need that you had inside you, and that this partner was going to come along and fulfill your needs, and you would be like this for the rest of your lives. And what actually happens is it starts off like that because you want to be around each other. You want to do everything for the other person. You want to meet their needs. You want to be loved and you want to love. But then things start to change. And that is because we are programmed to believe that it needs to be a certain way. And so let's look at this from the perspective of the old and the perspective of the new. And remembering that the greatest part about relationships, whether they're intimate relationships or whether they're with friends and our outer circle, is that they are the best training ground on our spiritual evolution. This is where all the theories that we learn really get tested, where you can practice remembering that you are sovereign, that you don't need to depend on somebody else to fulfill your needs. Because it's easy enough to read this theory and to think that I don't need to care about what other people think about me. I'm just going to speak my truth and I'm going to say whatever it is that I need to say. But then reality comes and you get hurt because people are judging you. You get hurt because they can't see things from your perspective. You get hurt because they have a completely different lens and they misunderstand you. I see this a lot with many couples, and it tends to be that one is on the spiritual path and one isn't. And the one that is on the spiritual path wants to be understood by their partner, but their partner is learning their evolution a completely different way, not a better way, not a worse way, just a different way. They're here together to test one another, but they're also mirrors for one another as well. And so, what actually happens in that situation is that one is wanting to be understood, wanting to be seen, wanting to be loved a certain way, and the other one is expecting something different. And that's what happens with expectations in relationships. It will lead to disappointment. And what usually happens at this stage is that they don't know what to do with it. And so they end up separating and then repeating the same pattern in the next relationship. So this is where it gets difficult, challenging, but this is where you can have your greatest growth. What if you stayed in that relationship and you worked through the issues and you started to let go of those expectations altogether, understanding that from a spiritual perspective, those expectations are actually attachments. You expect something from someone else, and they're not there to fulfill your unmet needs. They are there to mirror your journey. They are there to help you awaken. That's what they are there for. And so let's have a look at what is old and what is new. The old relationship is built on need. It has this belief that you complete me. You are the source of my happiness. Without you, I'm not going to be happy. And this will end up leading to disappointment because expecting one person to fulfill your needs is never going to be met because your needs cannot be fulfilled outside of yourself unless you are relating to God. And so there are so many ways that this plays out. I love the way that A Course in Miracles explains special relationships. At the moment, I am reading A Course in Miracles. And for those of you who don't know, A Course in Miracles is the only channeled text by Jesus, and not by Jesus, it's channeled of Jesus, and it is really, really profound. And in A Course in Miracles, it talks about special relationships and holy relationships. And what it says is that in special relationships, the ego makes one person their source of love for safety, for filling those unmet needs. And it's dependent on that source, but that can never be fulfilled because that is not the source of love. There is only one source of love, and that is God. And so when you're in a relationship that's a holy relationship, you give the relationship to God, you remember that you are already whole, and the love between you becomes a path of healing and awakening. And so new relationships are built on wholeness. And it's the belief that I'm already whole. I choose to walk beside you. If at any point you choose not to walk beside me, I bless everything that you've taught me. I bless everything that I have learned. And every interaction with that person becomes an opportunity for healing. So, triggers are a great opportunity for healing. So, for example, just say your partner arrives home later than you thought that they would. The old way would be to feel that feeling of abandonment, and instead of the partner actually saying, well, that's your problem, not mine, that you feel abandoned, the partner actually says, oh, tell me more about that, tell me more about that feeling of abandonment. And they lean in to how that partner is feeling rather than trying to defend their position. So it becomes like, thank you so much for telling me. Let's look at this together. Like, what's going on for us together? Let's look at what emotions are arising for us rather than triggers leading to defending their own position, leading to disappointment, leading to misunderstandings. And so recently I spoke to a couple whereby one of them went to a ceremony where there was this sacred ritual. And the person came home and told her partner about this sacred ritual. And he did not understand it at all. He thought it was kind of creepy and kind of cultish. And she was really quite hurt because she wanted her partner to see things through her eyes. She wanted to be understood. She wanted him to stand beside her and see how important this ritual was for her. But what she then needed to understand, which I helped her understand, is that he doesn't need to see things through your eyes. He is a completely different person. You need to let go of this attachment of wanting him to understand. You need to let go of the attachment that he needs to see things the way that I see things. You need to let go of the attachment that he really gets you, because that is an attachment, that is an expectation, and it's attachments and expectations which actually then lead to separations. So this is when it gets real, when it's your actual intimate partner. All relationships are wonderful, wonderful training grounds in terms of our spiritual evolution, in terms of understanding our consciousness, understanding what our triggers are, understanding what our attachments are, understanding what our expectations are. But in the new earth, everything is met differently. You meet the moment in front of you differently. You might still feel the discomfort, you might still feel the emotions, but instead of projecting your fear onto your partner, you ask, how can I honor your path even though it looks different from mine? How can I trust that your journey really does not diminish my journey? How can I just let it be okay that we are both traveling on this path together, but we don't have to see everything from the same lens? And so when we're transitioning to relationships in the new world, it really is about leaning in and curiosity as opposed to projection, fear, attack, and defense. And so when we do that, when we change things up from control to sovereignty, this is when it becomes a holy relationship, according to A Course in Miracles. And so the shift is not that the circumstances have changed, it's not that the people have changed, it's the same relationship, but the difference is the purpose. So basically, the old way is that the purpose is that this fills me, this relationship completes me, it fills me, it's a special relationship. But with the new earth way, it's offered up to spirit and it becomes a holy relationship. And in the old world, a breakup would feel like, oh, I've lost my source of love. That might mean that I am unlovable. But in the new world, it is thank you. Thank you for walking with me because our love is not gone. It's just changed form. Thank you for all the lessons. Thank you for everything I've learned. And that doesn't mean you don't feel the emotions. That doesn't mean that you don't feel grief. That doesn't mean that you don't feel sadness. That doesn't mean that you don't experience hurt. It just means that you take a moment to pause and to really reflect on what is it that you are expecting from another being. And can you hand over that expectation and that love to God instead? So, my question to you is to ask yourself, is my relationship, and it could be an intimate relationship, it could be with your friends, it could be with your family, is it about needs or is it a curriculum based on truth? Am I clinging to being special and wanting to be special? Or am I just allowing it to be holy? Because that is the difference between the old earth and the new earth. It's all about how we see ourselves in this relationship. Remembering, always remembering, because this is what helps me the most when I discovered this number one truth in my spiritual awakening. This is all a playground. This is every single situation that you cross is a curriculum for your evolution. Every single person is a character. They're playing a role. And usually they play their roles really well, especially when you feel really hurt. They're playing their roles really well. And so, do you want to learn the lesson rather than taking the pain and your projections and your anger and your hurt into another relationship? I had previously left two big relationships. I've been married twice. And when it actually got really challenging and difficult, I didn't have that lens, the lens of what is it about me that I'm learning here so that I could actually work through it in the relationship. Now, I'm not saying that you need to work through it in every relationship. And I'm not saying that you need to stay in every relationship because sometimes the relationships just serve their purpose and it's time to move on. But what I am saying is give yourself the time to work in the relationship rather than running away from your problems, running away from your issues, and then just recreating them in the next relationship that you have, and then creating a story that it's always about the other person. It's never, ever, ever about the other person, no matter what circumstance or situation you are in. It's always about what you need to learn about your own self worth, about your own beingness of being complete, and surrendering that love that you have only only to God, and remembering to always live in truth. Do not dim your light for anybody else. If you are on the spiritual path and you need to speak your truth, speak it. Speak it. But you don't need to convince anybody of anything ever. That's not your job. The light doesn't need to convince the darkness that it's a light. It's just a light and it just shines. And so you, my love, are the light. And all you need to do is shine in truth. If this video resonated with you, I would love it if you subscribe, leave a comment, share it, because it would actually just give me a bit of a bit of a nudge to share more. Because there is so much that I'm learning as you are on this incredible spiritual evolution of human consciousness. And so, sending you so much love. Always live in truth. Always live in truth. Sending you so much love.